Every morning at precisely 6:47 a.m., Marcus Thompson would take his position outside Murphy's gas station on Highway 94. The cardboard sign leaning against his weathered backpack read Veteran. Anything helps, God bless, in black marker that had begun to fade from countless rainy nights. His back always pressed against the brick wall beside the entrance, knees drawn up, Army surplus jacket zipped tight against the morning chill. The commuters knew him by now. 3 months of the same routine had made him part of the landscape, invisible furniture in their daily lives. They'd emerge from their SUVs and sedans, eyes fixed on their phones or the pavement. Anything to avoid the uncomfortable moment of acknowledgement. Some would fish recorders in their cup holders, dropping them into his coffee can with a metallic clink that echoed louder than any words they might have spoken. Marcus never asked directly, never reached out his hand or called after them. He simply sat there, watching, waiting, his dark eyes constantly scanning the parking lot and the road beyond. To the hurried customers, he appeared to be just another panhandler seeking sympathy. But Marcus Thompson was hunting the morning rush at thin to its usual trickle when Sarah Chin pulled up to pump 3 in her Honda Accord. She'd been stopping here for 2 weeks now, ever since her regular station had hiked their prices. Unlike the others, she didn't avert her eyes. Instead, she offered a small nod, the kind of acknowledgement that said, "I see you as a person," before swiping her card and beginning to fill her tank. "Morning," she said quietly, not looking directly at him, but speaking loud enough for him to hear. "Morning, ma'am," Marcus replied, his voice carrying the slight rasp of someone who didn't use it often. "Beautiful day." Sarah glanced up at the overcast sky and smiled. "You're an optimist." "Have to be. Otherwise, what's the point?" She finished pumping and walked toward the station's entrance, pausing near Marcus. "You're always here early. Don't you sleep?" Marcus shifted slightly, his hand instinctively moving to the small of his back, where old shrapnel still reminded him of Fallujah. "Sleep when I need to. This is important work." Asking for change. Watching. Before Sarah could ask what he meant, the bell above the door chimed as another customer entered. Marcus's attention snapped to the black pickup truck that had just pulled in, license plate obscured by mud, tinted windows, engine still running. His body tensed. "You should go inside now," he said quietly. Something in his tone made Sarah look at him more carefully. The relaxed posture was gone, replaced by the coiled alertness of a predator. His eyes never left the truck. "Why?" "Just trust me. Go inside, stay away from the windows. And when I say run, you run to your car and drive away. Don't look back." Sarah felt a chill that had nothing to do with the weather. She'd covered enough crime stories in her journalism career to recognize the voice of someone who'd seen violence up close. Without another word, she pushed through the glass doors. Marcus reached into his backpack and pulled out a cell phone. Not the broken flip phone he kept visible for sympathy, but a newer smartphone. His fingers moved quickly across the screen, sending a text he'd hoped he'd never have to send. Gate 7. 3 hostile. Engaging. The truck doors opened simultaneously. 3 men emerged, each wearing dark clothing and baseball caps pulled low. They moved with the kind of coordination that only came from practice. The driver kept the engine running while his companions walked toward the station entrance, their right hands held stiffly at their sides. Marcus knew that walk. He'd seen it in Baghdad, in Helmand province, in the nightmares that still woke him screaming. These weren't desperate addicts looking for quick cash. These were professionals. He stood slowly, his cardboard sign falling away. The homeless veteran facade melted away like morning fog, revealing something harder underneath. Marcus Thompson had spent 2 tours in Iraq and 1 in Afghanistan as a Marine sniper. He'd earned 3 Purple Hearts and a Bronze Star before an IED had ended his military career. But it hadn't ended his war. The 2 men reached the door. One positioned himself outside while the other entered. Through the glass, Marcus could see Sarah standing at the coffee machine, her back to the door. Behind the counter, teenage clerk Bobby Martinez was counting the register from a night shift that Marcus's phone buzzed. A text from his handler.
Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thumbs up, you can help more people hear this story by liking this video. Bell, every week we share unforgettable stories of silent heroes.
Through the glass, Marcus could see Sarah standing at the coffee machine, her back to the door. Behind the counter, teenage clerk Bobby Martinez was counting the register from the night shift that Marcus's phone buzzed. A text from his handler. Backup 12 minutes out. Hold position. 12 minutes. In 12 minutes, it would be over one way or another. The man outside the door was getting antsy, checking his watch, glancing at the truck. Marcus could see the bulge of a weapon beneath his jacket. He'd been in enough firefights to know that hesitation killed more soldiers than bullets. He moved out 37 years old. Carrying 40 pounds of gear in his backpack, Marcus Thompson crossed the parking lot faster than he'd moved in 5 years. His target was focused on the door, not expecting an attack from a homeless man. The element of surprise was everything. Marcus hit him low and hard, driving his shoulder into the man's midsection. They went down together, but Marcus was ready for the impact. His opponent wasn't. The air rushed out of the gunman's lungs as Marcus grabbed for the weapon. A Glock 19, safety off, round chambered. Federal agent. Marcus shouted, knowing the customers inside could hear him. Everyone on the ground. The man beneath him was stronger than he looked, and he had backup. Marcus heard the truck door slam and footsteps running toward them. He rolled away from his opponent, coming up with the Glock in a two-handed grip just as the driver rounded the corner. Drop it, Marcus commanded. The driver had his own weapon drawn, but he hesitated. Marcus Thompson didn't. 2 shots center mass. The driver spun and fell, his gun clattering across the asphalt. The first gunman was back on his feet, blood streaming from his nose, reaching for a backup weapon. Marcus put him down with a single shot to the chest. Inside the station, the third man had heard the gunfire. Through the window, Marcus could see him grab Sarah, pressing a pistol to her head as he dragged her toward the door. Bobby, the clerk, was on the floor behind the counter, hopefully calling 911. Marcus's phone buzzed again. Backup 8 minutes out. Status, 8 minutes. The man inside had a hostage and a gun. Marcus had 2 bodies in the parking lot, and about 30 seconds before every police officer in the county descended on Murphy's gas station, he thought about Sarah's smile, her kind eyes, the way she treated him like a human being instead of a problem to be avoided. She didn't deserve to die because she'd been kind to a stranger. Marcus ejected the magazine from the Glock half empty and slammed in a fresh one from his backpack. He'd carried 15 magazines on patrol in Fallujah. Old habits died hard. The station's door opened slowly. The gunman emerged with Sarah pressed against his chest, the barrel of his pistol against her temple. She was crying but trying to stay calm. Let her go, Marcus called out, his weapon trained on the sliver of the man's head visible behind Sarah's. This doesn't have to get worse. Drop the gun, old man, or I paint the wall with her brains. Marcus didn't lower his weapon. You're not walking away from this. Your friends are dead. Backup is coming and you're surrounded. But the girl doesn't have to die. I said drop it. Marcus could see the man's finger tightening on the trigger. In Afghanistan, he'd made shots like this before. Precision fire at extreme range with lives hanging in the balance. But he'd been younger then, steadier. Now his hand shook slightly from too much caffeine and not enough sleep. Okay, Marcus said, slowly kneeling and placing the Glock on the ground. Don't hurt her. The gunman smiled and shifted his grip on Sarah. It was the opening Marcus had been waiting for. His hand moved to his ankle holster, drawing a snub-nosed .38 in one fluid motion. The gunman's eyes widened, but he was too slow. Marcus fired once. The bullet caught the man in the forehead, and he dropped instantly. Sarah stumbled forward, alive but shaking uncontrollably. Are you hurt? Marcus asked, quickly checking her for injuries. She shook her head, unable to speak. Good. Now listen carefully. In about 2 minutes, this place is going to be crawling with police. When they get here, you tell them Agent Marcus Thompson took down 3 armed suspects. You got that? Agent Thompson. Sarah nodded, finding her voice. But you're homeless. You sit out here asking for change. Marcus smiled grimly. Best cover story I ever had. Who suspects a homeless veteran? The sound of sirens was growing louder. Marcus walked to his backpack and pulled out a leather wallet, flipping it open to reveal a badge and identification card. "Hey," he said simply, "we've been tracking this crew for 8 months. They've hit 12 gas stations across 4 states. But why here? Why Murphy's? Because Bobby Martinez's older brother runs drugs through this corridor. They were going to rob the station and kill Bobby to send a message. We couldn't let that happen." Sarah stared at him in amazement. "You've been sitting out here for 3 months, watching, waiting for them to show up?" "Longest stakeout of my career, but it worked." The first police car skidded into the parking lot, followed by 2 more. Marcus holstered his weapon and raised his hands, his badge clearly visible. "DA Agent Thompson," he called out. "Scene is secure." The lead officer, a sergeant Marcus recognized from previous operations, approached cautiously. "Jesus, Thompson, you look like hell." "Thanks, Patterson. Really know how to make a guy feel appreciated." 3 down. 3 down. 1 hostage rescued. And I really need a shower." As the crime scene team began their work, Marcus found himself sitting on the curb, the adrenaline finally wearing off. Sarah sat beside him, both of them covered in emergency blankets despite the warming day. "How long have you been doing this?" she asked. "Undercover work? About 5 years. This particular assignment started when I got out of the hospital." "Hospital?" Marcus pulled up his shirt, revealing surgical scars across his abdomen. "Took 3 bullets in a raid last year. Doctor said I was lucky to be alive. My boss said I was lucky to have a job. Turns out playing a homeless veteran was a perfect cover. Nobody pays attention to invisible people." Sarah was quiet for a long moment. "I'm sorry." "For what?" "For walking past you every day. For not seeing you." Marcus shrugged. "That was the point. But you did see me. You talked to me. Made me feel human again." "Is any of it real?" "The veteran part." "All of it." 2 tours in Iraq, 1 in Afghanistan. Lost my leg below the knee to an IED in Helmand. He tapped his left leg, and Sarah could hear the hollow sound of the prosthetic. "Got out. Couldn't adjust to civilian life. Started drinking. Lost my apartment, my girlfriend, my self-respect. That's when the DA found me. They recruited you off the streets." "From a holding cell. Actually, I've been arrested for public intoxication for the 3rd time. My handler, Agent Rodriguez, saw my file. Former Marine sniper, decorated veteran, no family ties. Perfect for deep cover work." A black sedan pulled into the parking lot, and a woman in a business suit emerged. She was tall, professional, with the kind of bearing that screamed federal agent. She walked directly to Marcus. "Agent Thompson," she said. "Hell of a morning." "Agent Rodriguez. Good to see you." "You too. Medical team wants to check you out. Make sure you're not hurt." Marcus stood, wincing slightly. "I'm fine. Just tired." "You've been out here for 3 months. That's above and beyond. Just doing my job." Rodriguez looked at Sarah, then back at Marcus. "We'll need a full debrief. But first, why didn't you go get cleaned up? You've got a hotel room waiting." "What about my stuff?" Marcus gestured to his backpack. "We'll take care of it. Go get some rest. You've earned it." As Marcus walked toward the sedan, Sarah called after him. "Will I see you again?" He turned back, and for the first time in 3 months, she saw him smile genuinely. "Maybe, but not here, and hopefully not asking for change." The sedan pulled away, leaving Sarah standing in the parking lot of Murphy's gas station, watching the crime scene team work. She thought about the man who'd saved her life, who'd spent 3 months pretending to be someone else, who'd been invisible until the moment he became everything. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Thanks for treating me like a person." She typed back, "Thank you for saving my life." The response came immediately. "Thank you for saving mine first." Sarah looked up at the gas station, at the spot where Marcus had sat for 3 months, watching and waiting. She thought about all the people who'd walked past him, all the opportunity for kindness that had been missed, all the assumptions that had been made. Tomorrow, she decided, she would start paying attention. really paying attention, because you never knew who might be watching back. Marcus Thompson had spent his morning being invisible, his afternoon being a hero, and his evening being human again. It was, he thought, as he finally stepped into his first hot shower in 3 months, the best day he'd had in years. The next morning, Murphy's gas station reopened for business. A new clerk had replaced Bobby Martinez, who decided that retail wasn't for him after all. The bullet holes in the windows had been repaired, the bloodstains cleaned from the asphalt, and beside the entrance, someone left a small American flag and a handwritten sign. Thank you for your service to all who serve, seen and unseen. Sarah Chin saw it when she stopped for gas on her way to work. She smiled, left $5 in the coffee can that still sat beside the wall, and drove away. In her rear-view mirror, she could see other customers doing the same, stopping, reading, contributing, remembering. Maybe, she thought, that was the real victory. Not the lives saved or the criminals stopped, but the reminder that heroism often wore the face of forgotten, and that sometimes the most important battles were fought by those the world had given up on. Marcus Thompson had taught her that being invisible wasn't the same as being worthless. And sometimes the best way to protect something was to make sure no one knew you were there. The guardian at Gate 7 was gone, but his lesson remained: pay attention, show kindness, and remember that everyone has a story worth hearing, even if they're just asking for change.